Hi, my name is Jody Graham, and I am a divorce coach and mediator. Now that you have made the difficult decision to move forward with separation or divorce, there's some things that you need to know about how to navigate this process. To start off with, there are three different ways that you can go about this process. The first is mediation. And mediation is where you come together with a trained mediator like myself. And what we do is we help you to gather all your financial disclosure information, decide who is taking what as far as dividing up assets and liabilities, working on a parenting plan, figuring out support payments. And I would draft up an agreement, not official separation agreement, but a memorandum of understanding or a memorandum of agreement that you could then share with your lawyer and have them draft it up as a formal separation agreement. And then they would help you to file the appropriate paperwork. You can work with different types of mediators. So there are non-lawyer mediators like myself. There are mediators that are lawyers. And then there are mediation companies that you can engage with. Companies like Fairway Divorce Solutions, as an example. There is also a gal in Edmonton. Her company name is One Family Law. She is a lawyer. And in the mediation process, you each still have to have independent legal advice at the end. And so you each have to retain your own lawyer to make sure that there's nothing untoward in the agreement. There doesn't seem to be a power dynamic at play. And so they just look at it to make sure that your interests are taken care of. And it's a very important step. But there is one lawyer here in the Edmonton area that operates under the company name of One Family Law. And she is the only lawyer at this point in time in Alberta, actually, I think across Canada, where she is able to act as independent legal counsel for both parties. Usually, you each have to have your own independent lawyer. In this case, One Family Law, she can act as your legal representative on both parties. So those are some of the options that you have going through the mediation process. Prices can vary substantially as you're working through. So check out some of your options and take it from there. The second option that you have is to go the collaboration route, and that is where you will each engage with specially trained collaborative lawyers. So they are trained specifically in collaborative law. And this is where they come at the divorce process from an interest-based solution. So what's within the best interest of you and your family? What's within the best interest of each of you individually? In both mediation and in collaboration, you are more in control of how things divide out between the two of you and how you come to an agreement. And you can come up with your own solutions. So when you are dealing with the collaborative process, you and your lawyer and your partner and their lawyer will come together in what they call four-way meetings. You can bring in neutrals into the collaboration process as needed. So I am also a financial neutral that comes in on collaborative files where I can help one or both parties as far as gathering your financial information. If one of the parties is struggling to understand some of the numbers and whatnot, then they will often bring in a coach like myself to help that one party work through and get to some level of confidence in working through all of their numbers. Financial neutrals can also come in and help both parties to understand what the long-term implications are of some of their financial decisions, whether or not spousal support is going to provide a sufficient level of support going forward. There's a number of different ways that neutrals can come into the separation process. And if you are somebody that has a family and you have children involved and you might need a family neutral to come in and be able to help you understand what's within the best interest of your kids when you're making decisions around co-parenting. So with the collaborative process, really, you have specially trained professionals that are trained in the collaborative process to help you navigate through and come up with exactly as it sounds, a collaborative approach to your divorce situation. Because you each have your own lawyer, you have independent legal advice, and they will help you and get all of your agreements done up and get your paperwork filed appropriately. The last way is litigation. And this is one where I would say this should be your absolute last resort. Not that every file that goes through regular lawyers ends up in court. That's not at all the case. I think it's something like 98% of cases get filed out of the courts. But if you can avoid going through the court process, I highly, highly recommend that you do. Those should be reserved for extreme cases where it's absolutely required. But if at all possible, do your level best to stay in that amicable situation where you can have the conversations. Not saying it's going to be easy. There are going to be moments where it gets really tense, but I would highly recommend that you either go the mediation route or the collaborative route just because you are more in the driver's seat as it comes down to figuring out how you're going to divide assets, and you have more say in how that's going to happen. I have worked with lawyers both in the collaborative and in the litigation streams, and I find that in the litigation stream, even though the lawyers are very capable and articulate and they're there to help you, I do find that it's a more adversarial approach and can often result in conflict that really isn't necessary. So I would suggest that either you look at doing mediation or you look at doing collaboration. So if you're looking for collaborative lawyers, please don't hesitate to reach out and I can point you in the right direction, or I can provide you with a link that you can find collaborative professionals throughout the Edmonton area. So I hope that answers some of your questions as far as what your options are going forward with the divorce process. It's not an easy process, but if you do decide to go down the route of mediation or collaboration, you are going to find it a lot more collaborative than going down the litigation route. So if you have any additional questions, please don't hesitate to reach out. I'm happy to answer any of those questions for you. If you have questions about each specific process, happy to help you with that as well, and happy to recommend some lawyers to talk to as you work through this. Let me know if you have any additional questions, and I'll talk to you soon.